Alrighty, guys, I'm now 12-1 on my last 13 board member tier package bets on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to see a video breakdown of every single one of my personal sports bets here today, you can do that right now by becoming a board member on my website. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my NBA free pick video here today for Saturday, March 11th, 2023. Of course, my name is Brock Page, and I've been dishing out free sports picks right here on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. Once again, guys, I'm 12-1 on my last 13 board member tier package bets on that site. And not only do board members get access to my board member podcast every single day, you also get access to every single personal play of mine, every single package, every single day until April 1st. It's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side, and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free picks on these free videos that I'm actually betting on personally. Great explanation. Wow, really doing a good job spitting it out here today. Anyway, guys, I currently have over 535 members who are signed up and active on my website right now. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at the Knicks at the Clippers, 4 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Clippers are -5, totals 227.5. And the Clippers lost 5 out of their last 7. And they continue to struggle on offense at home. LA's in the bottom 3 in points per game in their own building. And they're also facing a Knicks team who covered in 8 out of their last 10. And they currently have the lowest defensive field goal percentage on the road in the league. Julius Randle has a bunch of steals on the year and averages 8 defensive boards a game. Now, Randle's also the team's leading scorer with 25 points per contest. Meanwhile, Josh Hart, he's drilling 62% of his three-pointers in his brief 11-game stint with New York. Now, injury-wise, Jalen Brunson's inactive for today's game. Meanwhile, for the Clippers, Brandon Boston, he's questionable. Norm Powell is out. When it comes to the total, the Clippers saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the line. Meanwhile, the Knicks saw unders against the likes of the Kings, Hornets, and Washington. Give me New York +5, under 227.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Pacers at the Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Indiana's -5, totals 229. And even though Pacers have a slew of injuries, they're facing a Pistons team who has the worst record in the NBA. And no real surprise here, guys. They're allowing more points per contest at home than any other team in the league except for one. They're facing a Pacer team who's been pretty good against the point spread here recently. They covered in 6 out of their last 8. And they played some pretty tough defense against Detroit in recent meetings. They actually held the Pistons to just 108 points a game in their last 10 head-to-head meetings. Buddy Hield's got a bunch of steals on the season, and he also drills 42% of his three-pointers offensively. Meanwhile, Jordan Nwora, he's averaging double-digit points a game in his brief time with the Pacers. Now, injury-wise, McConnell, Turner, come on, bro. Come on, spit it out. McConnell, Turner, Halliburton, questionable. Mathurin, Brown, out. So make no mistake, Indy's banged up right now. Having said that, though, for Detroit, it's Burks, Bogey, Stewart, and Ivy. They're all scratched for them. They're out. Marvin Bagley is questionable. When it comes to the total, Detroit saw overs against the likes of Washington, Chicago, and Boston. Meanwhile, Indy went 70% to the over in their last 10. Give them the Pacers -5, over 229. Next matchup, Heat Magic, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Miami is -1, totals 220. Now, the Heat won 3 out of their last 4, and they've certainly had their way with Orlando in recent meetings. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games against the Magic, and they actually held Orlando to just 103 points a game in those contests. Jimmy Butler leads the club in steals per game. He's also the team's leading scorer with 22 points per contest. Meanwhile, Bam Adebayo is averaging 21 points a night himself. Now they're facing an Orlando team who lost 6 out of their last 9. They currently have a losing record at the Amway Center. When it comes to offensive production, the Magic's in the bottom 5 in points per game. Now, injury-wise, Wendell Carter is questionable with a hip. Meanwhile, for the Heat, Kyle Lowry's out. Duncan Robinson's questionable. When it comes to the total, Miami went 20-13 to the under in their road games. Meanwhile, the Magic saw unders against the likes of the Hornets, Pelicans, and Pacers. Give me the Heat -1, under 220. Next matchup, it is going to be Jazz at the Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Utah is -2, totals 231. And even though the Jazz really haven't been great lately, they've certainly had their way with Charlotte in recent meetings. They're 9-1 in their last 10 against the Hornets. And as far as this season's concerned, the Jazz have had little issue scoring on the road. They're in the top 5 in road points per contest. Lauri Markkanen's shooting 40% from three-land, and he also leads the team in points. Meanwhile, Kelly Olynyk's knocking down just about 40% of his three-pointers. Now they're taking on a Charlotte team who covered in just 38% of their contests at the Spectrum Center. They're also grabbing fewer defensive boards a game than any other team in the NBA except for one. Now, injury-wise, Cody Martin's out for Charlotte. Mark Williams is questionable. Meanwhile, on the other side of things for the Jazz, Jordan Clarkson's questionable for them. Colin Sexton is still inactive. Now, total-wise, Utah's 23-11 to the over in their road trips. They're also 73% to the over against Eastern Conference opponents on the road as well. Give me Utah -2, over 231. Next game, it is going to be Celtics at the Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Boston's -4, totals 236. Now, the Celtics are having little issue getting to the basket. As a matter of fact, these guys are in the top 5 in the NBA in points per game. Malcolm Brogdon's drilling over 45% of his shots from beyond the arc. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum, he's scoring a team-best 30 points per contest. Now, they're facing an Atlanta team on the other side of things who consistently struggles grabbing rebounds. They're currently in the bottom 5 in defensive boards per game. They're also allowing more points per contest than most clubs in the East. Now, injury-wise, Atlanta's relatively healthy at the moment. No significant scratches, so definitely a bright spot for them there. Meanwhile, for the Celtics, Williams and Pritchard are out. When it comes to the total, Boston went 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Atlanta saw 6 out of their last 10 get over the total themselves. Give me Boston -4, over 236. Next game, Bulls, Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Chicago's -7.5, totals 224 and a hook. Despite their record, the Bulls have played some solid defense in spots this year. They're in the top 10 in defensive points per game on the road. They also have one of the lower defensive field goal percentages in the Eastern Conference. DeMar DeRozan has a bunch of steals on the year, and he also averages nearly 5 defensive boards a night. Now, DeRozan's currently the team's leading points getter. Now, they're facing a Houston club on the other side of things who lost 8 out of their last 10, and they currently have the worst record in the Western Conference. Now, when it comes to offensive production, these guys are scoring fewer points a game than any other team in the NBA except for one. When it comes to the injury report, Kevin Porter is questionable for the Rockets. Meanwhile, for Chicago, Lewis and Green are currently out for them. When it comes to the total, Chicago went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings. Meanwhile, Houston saw unders against the likes of Brooklyn, Memphis, and Golden State. Give me Chicago -7.5, under 224 and a hook. Next game, it is going to be Mavs, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Memphis is -5, totals 224. Now, the Grizzlies covered in 5 out of their last 7, and they still play really well in the FedEx Forum despite their injuries. The Grizzlies are 27-5 in their own building. They're number 1 in the league in defensive field goal percentage. They're also giving up fewer points a game at home than any other team in the league except for one. Desmond Bane, he is currently drilling 41% of his three-pointers. He actually leads the active roster in points. Meanwhile, Jaren Jackson, he's scoring 17 points a game himself. They're facing a Dallas team on the other side who actually lost 7 out of their last 10. And they definitely struggle on the road. Out of 32 contests away from home, The Mavs got the W a dozen times. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, the Mavs are dead last in offensive boards. Now, injury-wise, Luka Doncic is out. Kyrie, Bullock, Kleba, and McGee, they're all listed as questionable. Meanwhile, on the other side of things for Memphis, Williams and LaRavia are scratched. Now, total-wise, Memphis went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Dallas saw unders against the likes of the Pelicans, Jazz, and Lakers. Give me Memphis -5, under 224. Next game, Bucks, Warriors, 8:30 p.m. East. Golden State's -1, totals 240. Now, the Warriors are doing a terrific job in the Chase Center. They're 27-7 in their own building. And scoring-wise, the Warriors are in the top 3 in the NBA in offensive points per game. Seth Curry knocks down over 43% of his three-pointers. He also leads the team in scoring. We got Klay Thompson. He scores 22 a game and also drills 40% of his long balls. Now they're facing a Bucks team on the other side of things who's definitely struggled shooting on the road. These guys are currently in the bottom 5 in offensive field goal percentage away from home. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, Milwaukee's in the bottom 3 in defensive boards on the road as well. Now, injury-wise, Giannis and Dragic are currently questionable. Matthews is out. Meanwhile, for Golden State, Kuminga and Rollins are questionable for them. Wiggins and Payton, they're still inactive. Now, total-wise, Golden State saw their last 5 straight at the Chase Center stayed under the total. Meanwhile, Milwaukee, they're a staggering 23-9 to the under in their travels. Give me Golden State -1, under 240. Next game, it is going to be Thunder, Pelicans, 8:30 p.m. East. New Orleans is -2, totals 233. Now, the Pels lost 7 out of their last 10, and they may have to go to work without Brandon Ingram. Ingram's currently listed as questionable with an ankle. Now, the Pels also tend to throttle down late in ball games. They're scoring fewer fourth-quarter points at home than most clubs in the Western Conference right now. Now, they're facing an Oklahoma City team right now. They're facing a Thunder team who won 3 out of their last 4 victories over the likes of Golden State and Utah twice during that stretch. And for those who don't know, believe it or not, OKC is scoring more points a game than any other club in the league except for one. These guys are scoring a ton of points. And speaking of which, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he averages 31 points a game along with 5 assists. Meanwhile, Josh Giddey scoring over 16 points per contest himself. When it comes to the injury report, once again, Brandon Ingram's questionable for the Pels. Now, total-wise, the Pelicans saw overs against the likes of the Knicks and Cavaliers. Meanwhile, the Thunder, they saw overs in 7 out of their last 10. Give me Oklahoma City +2, over 233. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be Kings at the Suns, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Phoenix is -3, totals 240.5. Now, the Suns won 7 out of their last 9, and they failed to cover only 1 time during that span. Now, Phoenix also plays their best basketball at home. They're 22-10 in their own arena, and they're in the top 5 in defensive points per game. Devin Booker's got a bunch of steals on the season and leads the team in points. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton, he scores 18 points per contest himself. He also averages double-digit rebounds. Now, they're taking on a Sacramento team who really struggles to slow anybody down, really having a tough time on defense. These guys are allowing over 118 points a game, and they're nearly dead last in defensive field goal percentage. Now, total-wise, Sacramento's 20-11 to the under in their road trips. Meanwhile, Phoenix saw unders against the likes of Charlotte, Milwaukee, and this very Sacramento team. Give me Phoenix -3, under 240.5. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Give me the Knicks +5, under 227.5. Indiana -5, over 229. I'm 12-1 on my last 13 board member tier package bets on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to see a video breakdown of every one of my personal plays here today, the only way to do that is to join my full access, all-inclusive board member package on my website. Give me the Heat -1, under 220. Utah -2 over 231. Boston -4 over 236. Chicago Bulls -7.5 under 224 and a hook. Memphis Grizzlies -5 under 224. Golden State Warriors -1 under 240. Oklahoma City +2 over 233. With my next and final free pick for the video, give me the Suns -3 under 240 and a half.